I don't have a middle name. My name is Freeman Epes, and I'm from a very small town in Virginia, Blackstone, Virginia, between Petersburg and Farmville. And I went to school in Blackstone. I went to college at Hampton-Sydney, which is it's still an all-male school, one of the few left. And then I went to the Medical College of Virginia to get a doctor's degree. It was a small town, maybe 5,000 people. Everybody knew everybody else. Half the people were kin to each other. And you better not do anything, because once anybody saw you, they would report it to your parents. So, and the same for grown-ups. If they ever did anything bad as far as criminal, they might as well leave town, because they could never live there anymore. When I finished my training in Atlanta, it was Grady Hospital, it's a charity hospital. The chief had recommended me to a doctor there that I would be good to work. He thought I'd be good for him. And so I was working with this doctor in Atlanta. And you know these pharmaceutical detail men that call on? I was friendly with the Wyeth man. And one day he came by and said, "I'm going to say goodbye to you, Dr. Epes. I'm going to go to Sarasota. The detail man there is going to start a drugstore." So I said goodbye to him. I didn't think anymore. And in about a month or so, he said, the drugstore that he started is on Siesta Key, and there's a vacant space next to it, and they don't have a doctor. And he said, "You should call John Davison." I came down and met him, and John Davison now built it, the Siesta Plaza. And we built offices, we built stores, and a drugstore for him and an office for me. My other office was so small that by the time I got the x-ray, the lab, the rooms in there, my waiting room was so small that people had to sit in the cars, and when they saw somebody leave, then they would get up and go in. A lady had an artist colony, and the what was the inn was where they had the meals, and there were little cottages around that bayou, and it's all condominium there, but that's who John Davison bought that waterfront. Not the waterfront, but the frontage on Ocean Boulevard to build the Siesta Key Plaza. I was a relief doctor for Norwegian, Caribbean, and Bahama Cruise Line. And if somebody got sick or death in the family, for some reason the doctor wanted to go for a week or two, I'd go over to Miami and go through practically all those islands. And then in the summertime, Norwegian, Caribbean moved their operation up to New York. And we went up the coast and down the St. Lawrence Waterway and to Quebec and Montreal. Yeah, I was the ship's doctor, and they had a nurse. One time they told me that they needed a nurse, so when I was making rounds, I asked any of the nurses, did they want to go on a cruise? And so one of the nurses went with me. And if you took your wife, you got paid much less. On Siesta Key, not only there was no air conditioning and the mosquitoes, but everybody had pumps, and the water had a sulfur smell. So it was pumped up into an aerator, and it would sit there in the aerator to get this sulfur smell out. And then from the aerator, it was taken into the house. And there's a fellow who was a real entrepreneur, Mr. Archibald. He made a water factory on Palm Island. And the central part of the key, where my office was, and the villages, all had Archibald water. It was John's drugstore, my office, and then his wife and her sister ran the petticoat house. A lot of writers and artists and authors, and it was sort of like an artist colony. It was less than 500 permanent residents. When I came here, I was I think the 50th doctor. I don't know, that's 500 or 600 now. and they didn't have emergency room physicians. So for your privileges at the hospital, certain days a month you had to be on call to the emergency room. Well, all of those hung out in the beach club. It's nothing like it used to be. The people that were there wouldn't recognize it. It was a small, it had a fireplace. People would be cooking fish in the fireplace, and all these artists hung out there, authors and writers and everything. And a fellow by the name of John Z. Clark ran it. He was quite a guy. He used to give a birthday party for all these artists and authors. It was just sort of a hangout for them all. And they had parties, and from there they would go off and have other parties. Siesta Key has what they call the Grand Canal, the main canal, and then a lot of canals off to it. And one of them lived on the Grand Canal, and every Sunday they would get either in rubber rafts or inner tubes and start at his house and have all that eats and drinks, and the tide would take them in, and then when the tide turned and brought them back, that was the end of the party. It was a restaurant that a lot of these people had their own stool at the bar, so you couldn't sit at the stool there. And I'm eating there because you could go in 11:30 and order a meal. You know, most restaurants are closed, but they stayed open. I went to New York, and to the second. Well, actually, when I was a kid, I went to the first World's Fair in 1939, 1940, and I went to the second one, which I don't remember the dates. And I had a room at either Marriott or Sheraton, and I was late, and they couldn't find my reservation, and I was fussing and fuming, and I heard a voice behind me said, "What's the problem, Dr. Epes?" And it was one of the waiters of the old Plaza restaurant that was a night manager. He said, "I'll fix you up," and he got me a suite of rooms in the Waldorf Astoria. The Siesta Key Plaza is the same size, but it's just so many more people. I mean, there were, I guess there were maybe 500 people on Siesta Key, when I came here, and I don't know how many now. A lot more normal people. They were mostly artists, authors. It attracted the people that I haven't seen in a long time that have moved away, and they say to me, "Freeman, what happened to all those crazy people on Siesta Key?" And I said, "They've been diluted out with normal people." I was lucky because Siesta Key is a great place to live.